才は僕のものだ。
Hey everybody, it's Mark with the Crystal Chronicles here to City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. We record live on Twitch every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Share this right to YouTube, Twitch Video on Demand, and your favorite podcast apps. Just an opportunity to talk defo with your friends. Now you can check out all of our links to social media, including our Discord at tccpodcast.com. Today I'm going to be sharing some game footage from Stimpy, a great JP player and YouTuber. So check out his link below to check out his channel and JP clears. Now Gau, the wild child of the Veldt, comes back to Opera Omnia in his Lost chapter. Now, I consider Gau a stance character, a character whose gameplay changes depending on what stance he is in. Before his Lost chapter and his new LD weapon, Gau had two stances, each tied to his main abilities. Each stance gives Gau a counterattack whenever any party member takes Brave or HP attacks. Skill 1 gave him the Life Shaver counter, a Brave attack that healed and batteried the party. Skill 2 gave him an AoE Brave attack with a single target HP attack. Gau was a fun character that a lot of folks just overlooked. Now Gau's LD gives him a third stance and a pretty nice bonus to the party. Landslide counter is an AoE attack with split damage that batteries the party and heals HP damage. It's really the best of both worlds from his previous stances, but that's not all. The party gets an Earth Element enchant, some attack bonus, and enemies get Earth Resist down and an attack and Brave debuff. This also unlocks a new HP and Brave attack for Gau. Remember, Gau cannot be in more than one stance at a time, and he is generally locked into his stances for several turns. Thankfully, his LD allows him to unlock and use his Skill 1 and Skill 2 whenever you want them to, but you really want to make the best use of his LD stance as it's his superior stance. Now, the question of the day, should you pull? Obviously, if you love Gau, and who wouldn't love Gau? Or if you just are a Final Fantasy VI collector, Gau's probably already on your list. And if that's the case, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. He's a fun character who has a lot of interesting utility. But if Gau's not on your radar, Gau does offer some really nice help to your party. Gau heals, Gau batteries with his counters, and that should not be underrated. Remember, anytime anybody takes a Brave attack or HP attack, he's going to counter. Now, it doesn't work if the character evades the attacks like 8 or Galuf, oh no, not Galuf, Edge, for example. But anyone who takes damage, Bosch, Gladio, he's going to counter. He also enchants the party with Earth and Imperil. Now, again, we don't have a lot of Earth element characters. I'll get to that in a little bit, but Enchant and Peril is particularly helpful. It does extra damage, more Brave damage, and it will be helpful depending on what fight you're coming in. Guys, who's another upcoming character, and Gau's current Lufania, do require Earth damage to manipulate the orbs. Now, you can do them without it, but it certainly is a lot easier. You can search, for example, Guy's Lost Chapter. You will find a lot of people pulled for Guy, and you may be like, who is Guy? Well, a lot of people had to pull for him because they didn't have an Earth option. Now, you don't need Gau's LD or even Gau as a character to beat his Lufania because you can use a counter character as well. We just had 8. We're going to have Gladio. You have several different options already. Many fewer when it comes to the Earth element. So Gau does meet both of those criteria. Any orb, any Lufania orb that needs a counter or Earth damage, he will fill in. He does also play well with other counter characters, so you can double up on counters. If character A counters and Gau will then immediately counter. He's really, really turn efficient, as my friend Black Nero said in his evaluation. So don't take that for granted. And if you enjoy the counter mechanic, you might enjoy stacking them up a little bit. Now for me, should you pull? I'm pulling tickets on Gau. I really like his kit. If I had missed 8's LD and I got 8's full kit on tickets, I probably would have considered gems just because my full counter Earth characters certainly would have been at a disadvantage. But I did get 8. So for me, Gao, it's really about his Earth enchant. It's really, really appealing. Your Earth damage options are so limited right now. Y'shtola, who does come back with an LD and BT. Alisaie, Lan Rain, Realm with her brother's summon. Gao, and in the future, Guy and Xande, who is also a dark user. Many people are going to be skipping because we have Vivi. So you have a very limited number. For me, Guy, Xande, not really interested. I missed Realm. I did get Vivi, thankfully. But, you know, Alisaie, Lan and Rain really aren't going to be putting in the damage, and Y'shtola is kind of limited in that. So Gao would be a really nice addition facing those Earth Element Lufania orbs. Right now, there's only 2 in Japan, so it's not the end of the world, and you can get by without it. But, again, it's all about kind of making sure your team is well-rounded and you have a lot of different options. And for Earth, there just isn't a ton of options. I just listed them all. Gao is one of those nice options. I'm not saying go heavy into gems unless he's a favorite of yours, but I am saying you might want to consider pulling for this counter, healer, battery, Earth enchanting character. Don't underestimate Gao. He's not trash. He is a good character. But obviously, there's a lot of good characters coming up, and you're probably going to be pulling on some of them. Now, another good reason to pull on Gao is if you're a big fan of Kuja like I am, and you're going to pity his LD if need be. I haven't pulled on it yet. I'm recording this before before Kuja LD comes out. But if you are planning to go on to Kuja and then maybe use gems on Gladio as well, another opportunity, use some tickets on Gao to get Kuja's BT, mostly just because it's a cool looking BT. Again, I've got a lot of resources. I've saved a lot over the last couple years, so I've been able to pull a lot, had some decent luck. So just really want you to think about, is Gao worth it? I think he's actually quite an underrated character that deserves you to just think about how you might use him or how he might enhance your team, especially if you're not going to pull for some of these other characters, especially if you don't have any counter or Earth element. Again, shout out to Stimpy. Check out his videos, his gameplay, one of our JP content creators on YouTube. Stimpy, I'll put the link below. Check us out Thursday night, Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. We just get together and we talk. My friends Kreese, Arrow, and I, often some other folks. I think Necklord's going to come talk about Gao this week. He's a big fan of Gao and Final Fantasy VI in general. I know Inkwelder's a big fan of Final Fantasy VI. Mino's a big fan of Final Fantasy VI. So we're going to have a whole bunch of people here who actually are going to be hyping up Gao a little bit and talking about Gao, because you're going to see him used if you actually pull on him. So good luck, and until next time, friends. Well, we'll see you then.